Good morning, Wall Street winners. It is Tuesday, February the 18th, and as we head into a shortened trading week with yesterday being a holiday, we can see that all three US indices are in the green. Some positive news overall around the potential for the talks between, oddly enough, the US and Russia ending the Ukraine war, with oddly being that Ukraine wasn't involved in these talks. But those are pushing the markets higher, according to I don't know what the narrative that's out there. If you take a look here at the top of the Bloomberg, that is the biggest narrative that is in the news and in the headlines right now. I think right now, what you want to be thinking about, if we flip over to the Yahoo Finance app, is we're about halfway through earnings season. We've got some earnings out this week, some big ones, one from Alibaba, another from Walmart. You want to be looking for companies that are profitable right now, that have the ability to remain profitable, even in or with these headwinds of tariffs potentially coming. And with all of the geopolitical turbulence that is happening right now in multiple countries, we want to find companies that are going to be able to weather that storm and be profitable in the coming quarters, and have a potentially have a good future forecast, but at least are beating profitability levels from previous years. So year over year, beating year over year profits. I think if you're investing in those types of companies, you're going to have a pretty solid portfolio. Um, Everything else is subject to a decline, in my opinion. So, if we take a look at what's going on, health and retail, I'm kind of staying away from health and retail right now. Costco is at all-time highs. Lulu dropped 25 bucks, $24 on Friday. That was a shock and a surprise because they're not really that affected by China. I think 3% of their manufacturing comes out of China, so tariffs out of China wouldn't be a huge hit on Lululemon. Nonetheless, they took a big decline there. Then we've got Walmart coming up this week. I'm definitely in favor of Walmart, but they are highly dependent on goods from other countries, particularly China, for a lot of the merchandise they sell. So that's a cautionary tale right there. It'll be interesting to see what happens going into those earnings. Home Depot as well, potential for tariffs here. We're talking about steel and aluminum tariffs. Those are going to hit the construction industry in a number of ways, but also in large appliances, which Home Depot sells, and in many other areas with additional tariffs outside of just steel and aluminum. And then we get down to healthcare. Healthcare is a question mark right now with pending cuts coming, and I think we're going to hear more about those cuts and things around healthcare in the coming weeks. So I'm staying clear of that. If retail goes down and the economy, I think, is right now, I think we're heading into a recession in the US, or a potential recession if tariffs do kick in, and then that causes the inflation that is almost certain with the tariffs. Then the transport companies are going to get hit. So I'm avoiding transport. Oil and gas. So we've got some Oxy is coming out this week with some earnings. There's one more. It doesn't come to me right now, but we'll have a look at that in a minute. I think it's Devon Energy that comes out this week. Yep, tomorrow. There it is. Um, Oil and gas is another question mark. I think the price of oil, crude futures, is going to change based on a any kind of treaty, peace treaty, or a stop to the war with Russia and Ukraine. So there's risk around that. We also have a number of US oil producers looking at fairly large layoffs. So if they're looking at layoffs, they're looking at cutting costs to achieve maintain profitability as opposed to revenue growth to achieve that. So that's another question mark around oil. So I'm kind of on the sidelines with oil. We get into the technology, and I think you've got a lot more upside, but then you have to look at how these companies are going to be affected by the consumer. So, I mean, I love Uber. Uber had incredible results, but if the consumer stops spending, then they're not going to probably be using Uber Eats as much if they're cutting back, and they're probably not going to be using Ubers as much. So that could be a potential hit there. Semiconductors, um, primarily consumed by both business and consumers. So, is the spending going to continue? We've heard the capex investments on the AI side from the big, call them Mag 7 companies, particularly Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Facebook, and even Tesla for that matter. But what are the other companies doing from an investment perspective? I think they're going to continue to invest. The acceleration of that effort is a question, how quickly they're going to be moving. And so that has a potential impact. I think there are still a lot of there's a lot of potential out there for some, I call them unicorns within different sectors. So again, Nvidia unicorn hasn't come out with results yet this quarter. Looks like it's going to have a pretty positive start to the day. Micron hasn't reported yet. Again, a big supplier of components to these computer systems that are driving AI. And then we get down Palantir, the American AI favorite, just can't knock this thing off of its stool. I can't imagine that this company is going to continue to rocket ship up like it is, but it seems to continue to do that. Reddit got pummeled based on user growth, active users. We've got CRM coming out in a couple of weeks now, 8 days, with earnings. I think there's potential for a rebound there. Sales is part of the organization that usually is invested in fairly heavily because it drives revenue. So it looks like it's positive at the start of the morning. So we'll see what it does in the morning session and leading into earnings in a couple of weeks. And then we get down further, you've got the likes of Microsoft. It's just kind of hovering in the 408, 410 level. You've got ARM, which I think had great earnings and a conservative forecast. If it beats that conservative forecast going forward, it's just going to skyrocket. So I'm a big believer in ARM, and it looks like it's positive this morning. Then we've got, if we go further, Workday. Workday is a workforce management solution, strong software platform. If the workforces get cut, they're not as penalized based upon how they sell all of these things. Lam Research, again, making the systems, the machinery that produces the wafer boards and um, allows for the creation of these extremely complex high-end semiconductor chips. So probably very positive in the long run. Amazon. Amazon growing in the web services space, very profitable. Um, Amazon and Microsoft both came out last week with earnings and said, or the week they came out this month with earnings and said they were struggled to grow due to capacity issues. So they're trying to resolve those capacity issues. That's going to take capex to resolve that. So they're going to have to spend to buy and build more data centers and invest in those. But then the revenues will come. Tesla, I think, is a landslide continuing to go down. I know it's in the green today, but I think it's got way more risk to it than any other stock right now, being Elon is so closely associated with Trump, and we're seeing sales decline outside of the US. I don't know what the deliveries are in the US at this point, but we're going to hear about those soon. Meta is the stock that just seems unstoppable right now. And it's a great story behind Meta, but it's had such a big climb. I think it's now 19 or 20 days of having a positive day in the market, which is almost unheard of. So, little leery of Meta, even though I really believe in Meta. I think it's got to pull back a little bit. Netflix has had an amazing run. Um, so that's another one to keep an eye on. I just think it might be a little inflated at this point. I got back to NVIDIA. We saw NVDL earlier. Google, I think, is a huge potential here. And this is one that is oversold. So you have the same kind of amazing company that you have in Meta, but it's discounted from a price perspective. I think Meta is definitely one to look at. Another one that's interesting, and I said I wouldn't get back into this last week, and I did, and then I got out quickly with a profit on Friday, is Alibaba. Um, Alibaba comes out Thursday, I believe, with results, and everyone is pretty hyped right now in Japan, sorry, in China, with President Xi talking to a group of tech entrepreneurs this weekend and demonstrating that he's now really going to support that area, that sector, as opposed to having his foot on their neck for the last 4 years and really almost devastating their tech sector. So it's interesting to see that change over there in the political landscape. And that has the potential for Alibaba to really rocket upwards. Now it's going to be based on how the consumer's spending over there, but Alibaba's also got a ton of cash. I think they have 50 billion or something close to that. I don't know the exact number, but they have a ton of cash in the bank just waiting to be utilized. And they've been buying back stock aggressively. I think there's a fair bit of potential with Alibaba for this quarter's results. And then finally, TSM. TSM is manufacturing the majority of chips that are being manufactured today. There's talk that they're going to, with Broadcom, take pieces of Intel and basically break Intel up and add Intel in two chunks to their individual businesses. And that was the other one that I skipped over that I wanted to mention, and that's Broadcom. And it's down and in the green this morning in the pre-market, but I think it's pretty reasonably valued right now. It's below what it was after last earnings, and it hasn't had its earnings yet this quarter. So we're going to see earnings on 3/6. I think that's the same day we see them for Nvidia. Um, no, sorry, Nvidia is coming out before that. It's the same day as we see them for a couple other companies that are escaping me at the moment. Anyway, I think Broadcom is a solid one to be in, and I think you'll see some good results there. And then we go over to financials. I love SoFi. I think SoFi's got a really good long-term story, but I think a lot of the others right now are overpriced. So I'm staying away from most of these financials until we see a pullback there. So that's where we are today. I hope you're liking the videos, and if you are, please hit the like and subscribe button. Good luck in your trades.